everybody. My name is Jessica Payne, and welcome to today's podcast. Today, I'm going to talk about a topic that I know means a great deal to you because I get a lot of questions about it. It is authenticity and how we can apply it to our brand, specifically in terms of hearing the word authenticity. It's a buzzword right now. I have a growing need among my clients and peers of how we can actually infuse authenticity into our brand, but also make sure we do it in a way that is not just pithy or trendy, but in a way that actually leads to results, leads to impact or success, so that we can kind of go beyond the kind of light versions of applying authenticity and actually fold it right into our strategy. So that's what I'm going to talk to you today about. I'm actually going to empower you with information that you can walk away with today that can immediately infuse authenticity into your brand. Why? So that it can lead to success down the road. Because if you think about authenticity, and this is a great place to start, if you think about authenticity as more than a word, what is authenticity? Right? It's being real. For a lot of consumers, it's being transparent. It's being open. It's admitting to faults. It's working openly to resolve issues, right? All of these wonderful things that we see in our personal lives that typically make for a great friendship, right? Think about someone who's close in your life, a role model, a friend, a family member. The more open the relationship is, that you're communicating with one another openly, the better it is, right? Well, the same applies to business. And, gone are the days of businesses being siloed and not being open at all. You're starting to see a lot of brands actually open their doors and communicate a lot more openly with their consumers, their audience. You're seeing this in brands that are doing this more on an ongoing basis that certainly goes beyond crisis management, for example. So perhaps that's where you've heard the word, or you've read an article, or you've seen the research that's come out about authenticity. Well, let me walk you through why authenticity is important. And let's start there. Let's reverse engineer authenticity. If you think about success, the success of your brand, the success of your business, you got to that success for a reason. So let's walk back how authenticity will lead to that success. Success for you might be resemble a variety of factors. Profit is certainly success, but for the sake of this exercise in this podcast, let's talk about success in a realm of impact. So no matter whether you are a business that's focused on making money, or a nonprofit organization, or somewhere in between, chances are that you have an idea of success. And that's going to be wrapped up into making some sort of impact. So let's redefine success today for this conversation as impact. Well, what leads to impact? Well, ideally, it's because your audience has taken some sort of action with your business, with your brand, that allows you to successfully create that impact. So let's take a step back from action. Well, what typically leads to a desired action? Well, typically some sort of emotional connection will drive people to take an action. So here's an example. Let's say you sell sneakers. Well, chances are the better your relationships with your consumers, the more sneakers they're going to buy, right? But if you're a company like, let's say, Tom Shoes, where you're a brand that actually takes the idea of creating shoes, and for every sale they make, they donate another pair of shoes to those in need, and therefore create an impact, you can kind of follow the breadcrumbs. Tom Shoes wouldn't be successful in making that impact if they hadn't got the desired action, you buying the shoes, through making an emotional connection. And that's why if you start to see any advertisements or marketing that Tom Shoes does, you'll see that they're always playing up on an emotion. Okay? So what leads to that emotional connection? Well, we all know that if you have any experience in marketing, the better your story, or I would venture, the more clear your story, the greater chances are of making a connection. We all know that whether it's a brand that we're buying from or an organization where we might want to volunteer our time or donate to, we are immediately vetting them. Everyone goes through this process. It's like meeting someone at a party for the first time. You're going to start to vet them, maybe even judge them or question them until you see something that you identify with. Oh, this woman comes from the same hometown as I do. Oh, this brand actually donates part of their time to a charity that I really love and I support. Or wow, this CEO has an incredible vision and a love for technology that I do, right? That's why we tend to love brands that are much more than selling products. They have a really smart grasp of who they are and telling their story. Great examples of this are brands like Apple, okay? On one end, they will announce a new MacBook or a new iPhone and they'll get really, really techy. On the other hand, they'll launch a whole marketing campaign that almost never shows the product. It envelops you in this lifestyle, the benefits of mobility, connecting with family, capturing historic moments. Facebook has actually done this really well in the past years as well. If you notice, every time Facebook comes out with a new feature, they launch a whole marketing campaign where half of it is the nitty-gritty of how the feature works, and the other half is almost aspirational. My whole point is brands that tend to be really successful and make a big impact have a great story to tell. And they've done the research in making sure that how they communicate it leads to an emotional connection, which increases the probability of you taking an action, and boom, and they have success. They create an impact. So what comes before communication? Well, let's talk a little bit more about your story. If you get down to the nitty-gritty, the heart of your story, the more authentic it is, the easier it is the story will be to tell. Full stop. Ditch the marketing speak, ditch the jargon. Gone are the days where we are running traditional press releases and marketing campaigns that only appeal to a certain number of stakeholders. Here's a powerful statistic. Currently, there are 75 million millennials out there in America who the data shows overwhelmingly don't like being advertised to. And this is why you're seeing really amazing marketing campaigns with products that tend to cater toward millennials, like Facebook, Apple, also Coca-Cola. You're seeing this in other brands as well. And not just consumer brands, by the way, it's volunteer organizations. If you pay any attention to millennials and what they might predict for brands to pay attention to down the line, it's if this generation that soon is going to be controlling the consumer spend for at least the United States in 5, 10, 15 years, if even now they don't like being advertised to, you know that down the line that every generation after them is going to have an increased desire not to be advertised to. So what does that mean for organizations? Well, it means that your story is going to have to be more authentic. For me, I love this because I came up through the traditional trappings of public relations and marketing, where being on equity and falling into the traditional paradigm of marketing was just kind of what you did. I'm not saying we have to discount it, but I'm seeing this amazing opportunity for brands, no matter your industry. I don't care if you sell insurance or if you rescue inner city animals. I don't care what kind of organization you are. I don't care if you're the IRS. If you're an organization, you have the opportunity to recraft your story and do it in a way that is totally authentic. So let's talk about that formula again, because I want to lead you back to success. And again, the whole idea of this podcast is let's talk about how authenticity leads to success. If you want to be a successful business, that depends on having some sort of impact be made, right? By your audience. Well, how do you create an impact? Well, it's because your audience has created some sort of action. They've done something that you want them to do. Well, how do you get them to do what it is they want them to do? Well, chances are people tend to react, engage, donate, buy, sell, sign up, attend, etc., etc. They tend to do the desired behavior that you want them to do if they've made some sort of connection. And that increases when there's an emotional connection, okay? Well, how do people create an emotional connection? Well, if their story relates to them, and that's on you. That's on you and your brand. The best stories that create emotional connections are those that are authentic. Think of those millennials. Think about your customers tomorrow. They don't like being advertised to, right? So if you start to take a look at this formula, it's what I like to tell people. That's the math. That's the math to success, right? The math to success for businesses of tomorrow are those that are going to be very confident in who they are, how they help people, who they serve, and very, very authentic. Be ready to have those open conversations. Jillian Michaels has this wonderful quote. It's sort of, get comfortable being uncomfortable. There's this great article out of Ad Age where Jill Byron writes about one of the key steps for brands looking to be more authentic is to get out of your comfort zone. So when it comes to that, I say, follow the advice of Jillian Michaels, and apply that amazing kind of confidence that has to do with really owning your body and your health and your lifestyle, and get ready to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's a good thing. Get a little uncomfortable. Don't be complacent. I think right now we're seeing that as a theme in the economy, in politics, in society, and now in brands. So, follow the advice and really kind of take those brave steps to talk about your story. A lot of people are uncomfortable getting real about their brand, but I think you'll find that it's actually a better conversation to have. Because at the end of the day, we all want to have an impact, whether it affects our bottom line or not. We all have objectives of goals for our business, and that relies on the impact that your audience makes. So if you follow this formula, if you do the math, you know that authenticity sits at the very heart of your success. There is a direct correlation between your authenticity as a brand and the success and the impact that you're going to have. And let me just close with this, one of my favorite pieces of advice, and this is something I use with my own self and my own business. Why the heck does authenticity even matter? And more importantly, maybe to you, you're probably asking, well, how does it work and why does it work? Because when you show up as you really are, you actually empower others to see themselves. And that is the nucleus of creating that connection, that authenticity, that emotional connection, that, I see a brand that I understand. I see a candidate who I can relate to. I see an organization where I'd feel great volunteering my time because we are congruent. We have the same purpose or we have the same values. And the only way they're able to understand that is if you are open about it and if you talk about it. Every brand, every organization, again, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. I absolutely believe and I know that you have a powerful story to tell. So my advice to you would be follow this formula and really leverage the power of authenticity to create success for your brand. I know this is a broad topic. I could spend the next 5 episodes on this, but hopefully this leaves you with a great exercise to do mentally and maybe with your team as you're looking at your brand. Look at your story. Look at how you're conveying yourself. Look how you're engaging with your public. You can find more information about this topic and others on the website. There's a link in the podcast descriptor. You can just Google my name. It's Jessica Payne, Brand Organics. You can also visit the website at strategyforimpact.com and others. If you have any questions, which I love to answer, you can always find me on social media and through the website. It's a topic I'm going to continue to cover because I know you've asked me to. But for today, really take advantage of this exercise and continue to use it for your brand. And I would love to see the success for you that comes out of it. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next time on the next episode of the podcast. Bye.